Jimbo Paris, and you are listening to The Jimbo Paris Show. All right. How's it going, everyone? This is Jimbo Paris here, back at you again with The Jimbo Paris Show. So today we have a special guest, Allan. He is the founder of Purpose-Driven Coaching, and essentially he's focused on accelerating difference makers and sort of helping them to kind of optimize what they're doing. And so he's a coach, but he comes at you with a different angle. And obviously, I want you all to watch the entire show here. So we're going to kind of go into that right now and just listen in. You know, he's a pretty interesting guy.
Hi, Jimbo. Good to see you.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Fantastic. Can you hear me okay?
Quite good. Quite good. So can you tell me a little bit about who you are, what you're about, and what your message is?
Yeah, absolutely can. So as you can see, my name is Allan Muellenger, and kind of the approach to coaching for the longest time, I guess you could have called me a mindset coach. So helping people kind of break through mental blocks and things like that to help them achieve success. And I was doing that for sales teams and leading them to their top years ever. And through all that, I wasn't really finding myself fulfilled. And so I was trying to figure out, what is it actually that I care about? What is it actually that I'm passionate about? And what I found is that there's a particular kind of entrepreneur out there that their primary motivation isn't money. It's not titles. It's not watches, cars, success, accolades, all these kinds of things. Those things are nice. But what they're particularly motivated by is making a difference, making an impact. And if they have that, then they're happy, they're excited, they're fulfilled. And I just noticed that those kinds of entrepreneurs are wired a little differently. They function differently. They focus differently. And so my mission, my thing that I'm here to do is to help those people really get connected to who they truly are, why they're here, and how they're meant to bring it to the world.
Okay. So how do you begin to sort of connect yourself to that goal and sort of to connect other to that goal as well?
It really all starts with kind of like we all have heard about getting our whys, like knowing what your why is. But I found with, perhaps this is with everybody, I'm not sure, but with difference makers, certainly, there's something that I call their super why. It's something that they've had since they were a child. It's been there their whole life. And it's this particular shift, this change that they like to see in the people around them. They're constantly giving, consciously or unconsciously, whether it is to install the belief that people around them are loved, people around them are seen, that life is extraordinary, anything is possible. There's a particular belief that they like to install in human beings. And so for myself, the first and foremost thing always is to know what my super why is and to remind myself of it. And by having that, it already gets the juices flowing, gets me excited to continue to serve.
Okay. So sort of, what is your expertise?
I would say, to put it into a bucket, I would call it transformational coaching, which is a particular kind of coaching that for me, it's really integrating like the emotional, spiritual, somatic aspect of it, using every tool I've got in my toolbox, no matter what it takes, to help someone have that breakthrough they really need to see the thing that they haven't been seeing so they can take their life to the next level. Because I found that 98 to 99% of the time, the reason that we're not getting where we want to go is because of things we're not aware of. And so it's really doing whatever I can to help bring that something into their awareness and then do whatever is necessary to release it, rewrite it so they can get and move on to the next level.
I'm curious too, as this purpose-driven coach, how would you describe your own ideal life?
I will answer that. And I have to say, like, in listening to the episodes and just doing some quick research, one of the things I loved about all the questions you asked previous people on the show is like how you ask such fantastic questions that really get to like root like curiosity. And I was really wondering, like, how am I going to feel when he asks me these questions that he just like gets it right in the moment? And I'm like, wow, like so I just want to really just acknowledge you for just asking really fantastic questions.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
It's amazing. It's really fun to be on the other side of, and I appreciate your craft and your intention with it, because clearly it is very intentional. So my ideal life for me, this is going to sound so hokey and so lame. I'm so sorry for this answer, but one that is truly just like absolutely full of love in every single way, but not just like, love, but like an extraordinary, unbelievable, immeasurable amount of it. That in my intimate relationship, it is built with no fear, no pain, just absolute support for one another. That with what I'm doing, my clients feel the love that I'm bringing into their worlds, and I feel it from them. And then in any, whether it's a random person on the street or whatever it is, that there's just a different feel, a different vibe that they get by being around me, being in the same space with me, whatever it is, that they just are, there's a palpable feeling of love and contribution in every single step of life. That to me is what an extraordinary life looks like. Take away all the, material stuff. The material stuff doesn't even matter. The material stuff, it comes effortlessly, I believe, when that level of life is being played at. But to me, a life that is totally full of love and contribution, that to me is what an extraordinary and what my ideal life would look like.
Love and contribution. Okay. And what issues do you think are most important to deal with in our society now as a transformational coach?
Yeah, fantastic question. I would say the number one thing that I see that's a real challenge, and it was something that I heard a speaker share at an event, and when he shared it, it completely changed my life. Because up until the point that I heard this, I was constantly searching for something to come and save me. I thought there was like something outside of me that was going to help. I remember at one point I was like, oh, if I just have a sales job with unlimited commissions and I just make as much money as possible, then I'm going to be happy. And then I burnt out and I was like, well, that's not it. So maybe I swung all the way to the other side of the pendulum and I went to corporate America. And I was like, maybe it's comfort and certainty. Maybe that's what's going to make me happy. And then my soul died. And I was like, nope, that's not it either. So then I was like, well, maybe it is selling. It's just for a company and a product that I really believe in. Maybe that's it. And then after 6 months there, didn't like it either. Then I took I cut my pay down to a fourth of what it was at that company, then to go work for a coaching company. Like, if I'm just coaching and speaking and talking, if I'm doing something that I'm meant to be doing, then that's it. And I gave this message where I built the whole thing from scratch. I was doing the thing I was supposed to be doing. And after I gave this message where everyone's crying and they're having these breakthroughs, and it was such a big thing, a beautiful thing, I walked off stage and was more depressed than I've ever been in my entire life. So I was like, what the heck is it? What is the answer? How do we actually become happy in life? W2F. That was kind of my situation. And the speaker comes up after me, and he was just nailing it the whole time. And you have to understand, I'm in an existential crisis at this point. I'm angry. I'm pissed. I'm depressed. I'm like, I want to go home. This sucks. And he's coming on just on fire. And I'm like, screw you for being on fire. I was just angry at him for being the way he was at that point. But then he said this line that I'll never forget. He says, when I used to walk off stage and people would come and give me feedback, if the feedback was negative, it really used to affect me. And I realized that the reason it affected me was because I was looking for things on the outside of me to make me happy on the inside. And when I realized that I was living my life outside in and needed to live my life inside out instead, to fill myself up from the inside so that I can then bring it to the outside to live in that priority structure, everything changed. And as soon as he said that, my eyes got huge. I was like, what does this mean, inside out, outside in? And I started looking at it from a different angle. I stopped looking to the Tony Robbins events and the books and the self-help people and all these places to try to give me the answers. And I started getting obsessed with answering this question: how do I find my answers? And that changed everything. So I think that for society, especially like if you think about just the simple act of scrolling on your phone, when you scroll, all you're doing is constantly being fed something from the outside in. And most people are looking for things like connection. They're looking for things like love. They're looking for something on that phone, happiness, whatever it is. But even that practice is a practice of outside in, wishing that the phone would give me something versus asking the authentic question: what makes me happy and what doesn't make me happy? And how do I go find it? How do I go create it? And I think if society made that little change, it would create the most amount of transformation.
That's really impressive. So what you're trying to imply here is, instead of looking for the answers externally, like most people through self-help books, all these other things, you really get those answers from you internally.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Well, and also too, like it can come externally, but it comes from like trial, error, failure, like trying things, doing things, going out and like, serving. Like I can't tell you, Jimbo, the amount of times that I've coached and failed, the amount of times that I've ran an event and blew it. Right. But it's like you learn by trial and error, like, oh, I liked that. I didn't like that. That felt really good. That didn't feel good. So sometimes it can come from the external source, but it still requires that we get out and do something and actually take action to get that insight. So yeah, a little extra piece there.
No, okay. So what you're saying, it's more of you aim by asking those questions internally, then you fire by going after it, using the grit, the will. Okay. And what determines your happiness? And could a person potentially do nothing and experience happiness and contentment?
I love these questions, man. It's awesome. What determines, at least for my happiness, for me personally, and I don't know if it's everybody, but Tony has this quote where he says, the secret to living is giving. And so for me, I found I'm the most happy when I'm giving as much as I can, and the giving in and of itself is leading to my expansion, meaning I must be more, I must create more, find more solutions, let go of my own limiting beliefs so I can do more. Like as an example, there was a time when I remember Thursdays, for whatever reason, everybody wanted their coaching calls on Thursdays. So I had all my one-on-one calls. I was on the phone, I was in Zoom rather, from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m, and it was just call. No breaks, no nothing. Like I would run out, grab something to eat fast, and then come right back in and serve. And I remember that for me, like when I'm serving, my energy state, being able to serve at the highest level is a non-negotiable. It's like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be at my best. And I would notice that like the last 2 calls of the day, or sometimes 3, I was getting gassed. I was running out of energy, and my coaching quality started to slump. And I was like, not acceptable. I'll find a way. And so, even though at the time I couldn't afford it, I was like, I'm going to find a biohacking place near me where I can do saunas and cold plunges and get B12 injections to make sure that I'm on point. And did that. And interestingly enough, when you go into a sauna, the amount of discomfort when your heart rate increases and you're sweating and you want to die and you're like, oh my God, get me out of here. It's a spiritual process. It's an emotional process. It helped me expand. And then immediately after that, going into a cold plunge that's 43 degrees for 6 minutes straight, trying to keep yourself calm while you're experiencing your whole body is in fight or flight. That's also very spiritual and expanding. So I was like, wow, I really love it when my work demands that I expand my personal self. So for me, I would say, at least right now, that's what really brings me happiness, is when I must expand to be able to give more. To answer your second question, do I believe someone can be happy by doing nothing? I believe that someone can be content. And when you say doing nothing, I'm assuming you're meaning like no meditation, no connection to a higher power, no nothing, just being in the space.
I would consider those types of things action, because again, that's what monks may do and so forth. But I'm asking more, just nothing.
I would have to say, at least for human beings, no. I think that we are our happiest when we have purpose, when we are contributing. I think at that point, we're the happiest.
That's fascinating. So what you're saying is, if you don't have a purpose, you're technically doing nothing. So I think with your clients though, and you're purpose-driven coaching. So you're okay. I get you now. I understand you a lot better now. All right. So what emotions do you feel most comfortable with now versus when you were younger?
What emotions do I feel most comfortable with? Wow. I will tell you, the ones that I feel most uncomfortable with are like euphoria, pleasure, joy. And I think a lot of people experience that, where it's like you get those really high level emotions. You're like, oh, that's so scary because it's so intense. So I'm working on that right now. But the ones I'm most comfortable with, I would say the experience, like, I don't know exactly how to word this, but like whatever it takes. Like when I'm in a situation where I am backed against a wall and there is no other option than forward, for whatever reason, I get really calm in that space. I just get, there's a calm, there's a certainty, and it feels like home. It's almost like I found the edge, and at least now I know my edge. All right, let's keep going. So I wouldn't even call that like extreme fear, anxiety, because I don't even feel those emotions, but rather I don't feel those emotions in that scenario. But I would say I'm most comfortable with, rather, when the world puts me in a position where I have no other option. It makes it simple. It makes the action simple.
So that's what you're about. You're about taking action. That reminds me a lot of people who have growth mindsets. You like to always, move forward. And you feel as if you're forced into a position where you have to move forward, that's a good thing for you. And that kind of incites, some emotion you're comfortable with. Is that what I'm getting at?
Yeah. You've summarized that and encapsulated that incredibly well, because there's a particular paradigm in the personal growth world and in the world in general that if you're going to take action that you're afraid of, you need to rewrite the beliefs first, or you need to have some breakthroughs first, or you need to get a coach first, or go to the event first, or whatever. And it's like, or go through the medicine journey, whatever people are into today. Then I can take the action. And I have found that, at least the way that I coach, that is significantly more effective and more powerful is, instead of trying to rewrite your beliefs so you can take action, it's taking action to rewrite the beliefs. And I'll tell you, that method I have found is a lot more uncomfortable than, going through all the seminars and all the things and whatever. But I've also noticed it's a lot more fulfilling, and it's a lot faster and more effective when it comes to really claiming the life that really is meaningful to you.
Excellent. And again, this is an excellent interview, but I kind of want to focus a bit more on what you do. So on your career. So what are some of the services that you offer in your business, and what is your business about?
Yeah. So the primary service that I have is really one-on-one and group coaching. So I found that this kind of work that I'm doing, it's deep work. We're going into what's real. We're not dancing around stuff. People can get very uncomfortable when I'm working with them, but it's because I don't mess around. It's like, hey, we're going to face the things that you've been avoiding your entire life, because I'm Allan Muellenger. Hi, nice to meet you. That's what I do. So if there's one-on-one coaching where we do deep work and more intimate things, and again, the whole point of there is to really work on the stuff that they wouldn't want to work on in a group, where I'm teaching foundations of, really, if I had to boil down, you ask, like, what do you do? I give people the tools that they need to make impossible decisions, because you have to understand, at the cusp of an impossible decision, the amount of emotions that come up, beliefs that come up, there's so much stuff. And so a lot of what I'm doing is, it's almost like a marathon runner. They run and they go to the gym and they eat right to train for the marathon. I'm doing a lot of like emotional and psychological, like, working out with the clients, so they're prepared when the big decisions come. So that's a lot of the one-on-one stuff, is like deep, intimate work that I couldn't do in a group setting. On top of that, there's the group stuff. And I found that when you combine one-on-one coaching and group coaching, there's something really magical about watching a person, a human being, go through a deep intervention, being really vulnerable in a room full of 20, 30 people. Because I found that when one person goes through something really powerful, it ripples through the whole room, and they get a really beautiful lesson out of it also. So it's a combination of one-on-one coaching and group coaching, all designed to move somebody through what I call the path of purpose. That I noticed that in getting myself to understand who I am, why I'm here, and how I'm meant to bring it to the world, there's a process to that. There's a linear thing to it. And so I just noticed that in that path, there are 3 distinct journeys. And I call them journeys, not stages, because they're not meant to be gotten through. They're meant to be really in. The first journey in a path of purpose is clarity. I don't know who I am. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know how I'm meant to bring it to the world. I just know there's more. And I want to figure these things out so I can have some direction. And in clarity, the biggest things that I focus on are understanding the difference between the head and the heart, understanding when the head is driving, i.e. fear and limiting beliefs, and when the heart is driving. this inexplicable pull to become more and do more, and really teaching people the nuanced experience of identifying the difference between the two. Because if they can identify the difference between the two, it's only a matter of time before they lead themselves into an extraordinary life. So that's what happens in clarity. Once they get that muscle down to be able to identify the difference between the head and the heart, know what that energy feels like, and they start taking some action forward, they'll eventually hit this threshold. They'll hit this point where they'll go, oh, I don't exactly know who I am, why I'm here, how I'm entering this world, but I do know that I want to keep taking this kind of action. So now all of a sudden they go from being in this floaty space to being in forward momentum, which takes them to the second journey in the path, which is courage. In courage, what's going to happen is most of us have built a life from our head. We've built a life that makes sense, that is good based off our conditioning, based off of our upbringing, based off of what was going to make us a safe amount of income. And in courage, it's the process of undoing that. It's the process of recreating all those things that you created from your head and instead creating them from your heart. And that process is something I just call correcting misalignments. So we're correcting misalignments and allowing the heart to be more of the leader, and then eliminate the head piece, which then at the end of courage leads someone usually to an all or nothing moment. And this all or nothing moment, there's usually one huge misalignment, one really big thing that has someone stuck, and they've been ignoring it for a long time because it was so big. This could be anything from, and I'm not messing around, this is just really real what clients go through. It can be anything from leaving their spouse that they're not actually in love with. It can be starting a business. It can be quitting their job. It can be moving out of the country, whatever it is. It can be it's usually a big thing they've been avoiding for a long time, or allowing money to control their entire life, whatever it is. They get to that all or nothing decision. Once they make that decision, they experience this just total liberation and freedom, which brings them into the final journey, which is creation. In courage, there's this up and down roller coaster where you're like, everything's great, everything sucks, everything's great, everything sucks. But in creation, it's different. Creation, it's a slow increase in your excitement, in your quality of life, in your passion, in your joy, with moments of pain, because limiting beliefs never go away. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not sitting here being like, I've eliminated all of my limiting beliefs in life. That's not true. I still have plenty that I get to work on and get to move through. But in creation, rather, instead of unconsciously being on this roller coaster of ups and downs, you're now in the driver's seat. You're building your life by design. And that's what I take people on. And that's how I move difference makers through that process. Is that helpful?
That is very helpful. And so, again, this has been an amazing interview. I definitely learned a lot, and I think the audience will learn a lot too about this as well. Now, to sort of end this off, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
That I've ever received is to be unreasonable with life, meaning be unreasonable in what you ask for. Be unreasonable with how much you try, how much you give, how much you do. When we watch the movies, when we watch the rom-coms or the greatest stories, we don't get lit up because some person, did a tiny little thing and we're like, oh, that was cool. We love rom-coms or those big romantic movies because the guy or the girl, they go do this big, massive, unreasonable, ridiculous gesture at the end. What? The plane's leaving. Why'd you jump through the door? Like that kind of stuff. And I found that being unreasonable with life is the best advice that I've ever been given.
Beautiful answer. All right. This is Allan. And one quick thing I need you to say is, and I want to give you all the spotlight here. How can we reach you? How can people get to you? How can people talk to you? How can people continue to find out more about you and just, learn and improve themselves?
Best place would be my Instagram. So my Instagram is just my last name. It's MUELLEGGER. You send me a DM, I will respond. I'm in there very frequently. And so my Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me.
All right, everyone. This is the Jimbo Paris Show. We just had Allan, the CEO of Purpose Driven Coaching, big boss here, focus on improving people's lives. All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. I'm currently working on a passion project that I'm really excited about, but I need your help to bring it to life. We'll be launching soon our very own Jimbo Paris Academy, and this is going to be about aspiring creators and creating concepts. Thank you for your support. I'm sharing free bonus content to supporters, so let's make some amazing content together. Our affiliate partner, LifeWork Systems, focused on helping create a better collegial environment, looking at the mental health of business workers, business employees, and overall bringing the business up. Thank you for listening to the Jimbo Paris Show.